The key word for today is mind. The universal versus the individual mind. Let's start with the science of that. In quantum physics, the new discoveries. I don't want to explain in length. We don't have time. Okay, take a week. But in the layman level of quantum physics, if you look at something, it's tangible. If no one is there to pay attention, it's not. It was discovered that mostly everything is made of nothing. Okay? There's a notion of nothing in between each of our atoms. Okay? So let's say, and the whole of your body, there's a molecule. Okay? A molecule inside us made of multiple atoms of different components. You know, carbon, oxygen, hydroxides and stuff. And they are all together to form some kind of protein. And whatever the stuff makes us. I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to start dropping names that I don't understand, okay? But we know that, let's say this is an atom, and it's close to another atom. Okay? And these atoms are attracted to one another, so they get close. Let's say this is the actual size of an atom. For this chart to be accurate, to represent the real distance between atoms, I should have drawn this point on the other side of the planet. So much distance there is between each atom. Okay? Second thing, these atoms which are so awfully distant compared to their size still have some kind of attraction to one another. Okay? So every atom in the universe is attracted to every other in proportion of their mass. Like if you have a mole or a few moles of atoms together, will have more power of attraction than a single atom on whatever is around them. Okay? So we use planets as examples because we understand this better, because we were trained in school to understand it. Jupiter has a much more powerful attraction on whatever is around it than Earth would have, or the Moon, okay? Because of its size. Nonetheless, if I take an object and I drop it, did the object drop only because it was attracted to the Earth? Well, at some very almost infinitely small scale, this pen attracted the entire Earth towards it also, in proportion to its mass, so it's pretty much nothing compared to the Earth pulling on that pen to just fall down. But gravity is not what makes things fall down. Okay, who says this is down? Okay. Down is a reference towards our standing point. Okay. Everything has been given. Now we go to metaphysics and spirituality and quantum physics all together. Okay? Everything in the universe was imbued with the power of love. This is why everything is attracted to everything. Okay? Because love attracts. Okay? So, in the Hindu approach, we see everything is attracted to everything else because Vishnu is in love. With no reference to what it is in love with, because it's everything. Alright? So there is love. And that love is what causes everything to be attracted. Now these atoms have a pull. Okay? To each other. When divinity, we can say God, the original source, the Vishwa Buddha, okay, however you name your God. The Father, Brahma, okay? So I say God because I like it. And of course you imagine what God is, and it's not the real God, but let's not go through this right now. So when the universe was created, it was imbued with God because everything is made to the image of God, not just man, everything. And God is love, okay? Pulling, wanting, not yearning in enslavement to forces of nature, but an attraction of, I love that, let's do it, okay? And when God created everything, He enjoyed it pretty much. But for creation to happen, He also bestowed us a supernatural ability, which is separation and denial. Oh, the denials that we just spoke about is what makes us push away love. Scientifically, at the atomic level, it's a field. It's a field of denial that makes sure that when atoms are starting to be close together, it will reach a balance point where there is as much denial around each atom than the attraction that pulls them together, so they stop and they stay at this distance. So the universe is kept in balance by gravity and electromagnetic force, but we can say it's love and denial. Okay? The same way we humans, as a very large scale compared to an atom, experience this. So we're made mostly of nothing, and when there's something, it's very small, and it's just enough to keep that tangibility. Now this thing is not solid. Atoms are not solid, and they're not made of mass. They're made of consciousness that pulls, and when it gets to a certain point, the shell of denial around it, everything has a shell of denial because this is what allowed it to be an individualized atom, a single item. The shell of denial around it pushes away the love that it wants. So we go to a state of balance, okay? And this is why, if we project it on a human, in our relationship, we feel separation, okay? This feeling of separation, of not being in oneness, is that we are naturally created. We are permitted to exist as individuals, as single beings, because of the blessings of separation. Well, separation is also the cause of our suffering. Okay? The cause of our suffering is the original impulse that God gave us to be separated from Him. Now, we're not separated from God. There's only a very, very small fraction of us that is separated from God. It's these points, these atoms inside us, that keep the energy of separation and denial. Okay? Because everything else, all the immense space between each atom, is an experience of full love. Whoever did the meditation on vacuity, when you really experience to immediate experience, I can't find another word, when you really live vacuity, an explosion of love. You just feel love. You remember that. It just comes love gushing out of, you don't know where, but you're filled with it. The immense power of love comes inside you. Now, if you do the vacuity meditation and you try to be filled with love, it doesn't work, because to get to the vacuity, you must not be thinking about being filled with love. If you think about being filled with love, you're doing the being filled with love meditation, okay, which will not bring you to vacuity. Go to vacuity until you really experience the absence of anything, and you will have it's just a little parenthesis about this meditation right now. You will have to go through a point where your ego is afraid to stop existing, and you look at it because it's a fear, so you integrate it, and you keep doing the vacuity meditation. Boom. And you go in darkness and nothing. That I teach in other seminars. And when you get to this point of separation and cross it, divine experience of completeness is there. Love. No more separation. Because you are the space in between the atoms. You're not the atoms separated. And we live this as human. We're not just this human. We're everything created. And oneness comes, and it's so wonderfully filled with bliss. Okay? So I'm going to do the parallel between what happens at the atomic level, because scientific people proved it and demonstrated it, and what happens at the human level, so we can understand why are we made like this, because everything in the universe is. Next step. This is not solid, but we see it to be solid when we pay attention to it. So, in an experiment called the double slit experiment that I will spare you. Oh, I can show it. The double slit experiment. There's an area on which, let's say, a board on which some particles will be projected by a particle cannon. Okay, so there's some kind of particle. It's on the floor. Particle cannon that shoots particle here, and it makes tons of dots, okay, where the particles hit. Now they decided to put some kind of board to prevent the particles from going through, but they made two small slits in there so that when the particles, in a very random way, would go through the slits, it would draw on the final membrane, the pellicula. It should draw two lines. You know, it's like if you put a lamp and you put this opaque board there with two dents in it, you'll see two points of light. Okay. Well, they did this at the level of particle emission, and they were expecting to see two bars. But what they saw instead is just waves, where at some places the waves were stronger, at some places they were weaker. Just go weaker again, okay? So they had this inference pattern, like when you strike the surface of water at 2 points at the same time, the waves at one point will combine, and where the waves combine, it makes a higher wave. So they had these two dents allowed the particles to act like waves, because when they pass through there, they acted like waves and went all directions, and they drew the inference pattern of where the waves combined, like on the surface of water, okay? Of course, it's a very difficult way to visualize with the board. I'm using words. Try to imagine in your head. It didn't behave like particles as granular particles, grains, hitting whatever goes through the dents will make two lines. It just reacted like waves in all directions, and we had this wavy pattern happen. Okay, if you search online double slit experience, you'll have all the information about that. So they tried to figure out what the heck happened. They put instruments to measure here what's going on when the particles go through, and they rerun the experience, and to their amazement, they didn't get the inference pattern, they got two lines. Follow that? So they took we altered something, we have to bring it back to origin. They take off the instruments that allows them to see what's going on with the particles here, and they get the inference pattern again. They start observing what happens here, they get two lines. And what they deducted is when you look at particles, they're granular and tangible, and when you don't look at particles, they're intangible in a state of potential, and they're waves. Okay? So things do not exist if no one is paying attention to them. They're there in potential. Therefore, the bathroom is currently intangible right now. It's just going to be tangible at the moment that you'll have a glimpse of paying attention to it. That's scary. Okay? Breathe. Now, I'm going to add something at a metaphysical level that science did not demonstrate.